Hi, my name's Darren, or if you're unfortunate enough to follow me on Twitter, my name is ShinraAlpha, and this is my Booktube channel, I guess. I've never done anything like this before, quite nervous about it, so let's see where this goes. I'm using the new Booktuber tag to help me kind of structure this first video. So I guess we'll see where it goes, and hopefully people will like it. I'm a terrible person, so odds are that they won't, but we'll see. You know, stranger things have happened. Okay, so the first question is, why did I start this channel? So basically there were a couple of people in the book club that I run from my shop, because I'm a bookseller, who were really quite persistent. Specifically Hannah, who was also on YouTube. She kept saying, "Oh, Darren, you should start a Booktube. It'll be really good." And I was like, "Okay, sure. What's a Booktube?" So yeah. So basically, recording myself talking about books seemed like a really direct way of using the really dorky passion that I have for books to straight out, because I write a blog as well, but I tend to be quite wordy, and I type a lot of nonsense, and I thought that this might be a little bit more down to earth. It might be a little bit more who I am as opposed to who I tried to be when I'm writing. I don't know. Maybe it was a stupid idea. Question 2 is, what unique things do I think I can bring to Booktube? Which is literally nothing. There is very little special about me. I guess I talk about books for a living, so I figured it would be something that I would take to quite naturally. But basically I'm an idiot, so we'll just have to see where it goes. I think I'm good at going off on random tangents about literally nothing, which could be quite fun, and will probably make my videos last much longer than they're kind of supposed to. But hey, I guess we'll find out. We'll give it a try, see what happens, but nothing unique. I'm not a unique snowflake in the slightest. Question 3, what am I most excited about this YouTube channel? What I am most excited about is forming some kind of global brand that I can use to hypnotize and control the impressionable humans of Earth, and use them as my own personal army to conquer the world and possibly build me an underwater city where I can live as king of the merfolk. Okay, question 4 is, why do you love reading? Which is something that I could do an entire video on, and may well do if this takes off and if people actually decide that they want to listen to me talk. I can't imagine why you would. I love reading because it is an escape, which is the most generic answer in the world. But the world is big, and reading makes it smaller. I've always been kind of fascinated with the idea that, as far as we know in the entire universe, humans are the only thing that actually tell stories to each other. We are the only thing in the known universe that makes up things to entertain each other, and that is a kind of magic. It's something that no other form of matter known to humanity actually does. So that makes stories intrinsically important, and so that makes reading just a way of tapping into every other human being on the planet. That sounded really pretentious, but it's how I feel. So question 5 is, what series got you into reading? What series got me into reading? I wonder if there was a particular series of books that really captured my imagination as a kid. I wonder what it could have been. It was, of course, the Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling, which changed everything when I was a child. I am of the generation that I was growing up as the books came out, and they were probably the single most exciting thing that was going on for children of my age. Yes, I really am that old. But yeah, they really made reading something that you just had to do. Not something you wanted to do, something that was inside you that you just yearned to get out. But also, I have a very special place in my heart for Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials, which I think is probably still one of the most ambitious and beautifully written fantasy series of all time. This copy has a very special place in my heart because it is signed by Philip Pullman with his favourite quote from John Milton's Paradise Lost, because I really am that much of a nerd, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Question 6 is, what do you think will be your biggest challenge when it comes to doing a booktube channel? Mon visage, my face. I hate it. It's a stupid face. You don't need to tell me it's a stupid face in the comments. I am aware of that. Question 7 is, when did you start reading? And interestingly, I started reading in the year 2117, and have actually travelled back to the present day, although I can't tell you why, because they are listening. They're always listening. Question 8 is, where do you read? I read on the bus, and I read on the train. I read in bed, and I read on the toilet and in the bath. I read while lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling despondently, because standing up seems like far too much hard work, and who are you to judge me? I'm being at one with gravity. I bet Einstein did it all the time. And I also read on the sofa. And finally, question 9 is, what kind of books do you read? So predominantly, as anyone who knows me will read, I read 90% YA. So yeah, young adult books are what I read. But here's a quick run through of some of the genres that I particularly enjoy, just in general anyway. So my favourite genre is horror, which is very rarely done well, but when it is done right, is absolutely captivating. I also adore magical realism. I like books that kind of blur the lines between what is actually happening and what is imagined. I think that that's a really fun kind of universe, very twisted and very unusual to exist in. I really like science fiction and fantasy, predominantly more science fiction, but I do also quite like gritty, dark fantasy as well, stuff that doesn't necessarily rely on "ooh, magic did it," because that gets really annoying really fast. I quite like bleak contemporary novels that are not afraid to shy away from the really harsh realities of the world we live in. Asking for It's particularly on point for that kind of thing, and Birdie is just really fun for a book about sociopaths. I recommend it. I also quite like hopeful contemporary novels as well, books that let you know that things will work out all right. Things like these that let you know that growing up is hard, and it can be a real challenge, but it works itself out. Really like coming of age novels, books about people kind of starting to understand their place in the world. I guess that kind of ties into the one before, but I really love these books and wanted to talk about them a little bit, so they are great. I read a lot of graphic novels. In recent years I've started to shy away from kind of the Marvel DC superhero graphic novel, and I've started moving into slightly darker and more unusual stuff. I read Witches recently, which is beautiful and evocative and supremely dark. Really, really creepy, really, really original. And I read Nimona as well, which is hilarious and intelligent and sweet and absolutely beautiful. I love this book. And of course, my final passion is picture books. I love a good picture book. And Oliver Jeffers is my favourite of all the picture book authors. He is brilliant and genius, and they're just gorgeous books. Okay, so thank you for watching my first video. If you did, if you enjoyed it, then I would strongly recommend seeing a specialist, some kind of psychologist. There's something wrong with you, but thank you. Please do let me know, because I'm not really sure if it's something I'm going to continue doing. It really depends on feedback. So if you people enjoyed listening to me talk, then cool. That's a first, but thank you. They're still listening. Pretend like everything is normal.